There was a time when things used to hit you differently. A song would come on and you'd feel it in your chest. Someone would say something small, something that shouldn't have mattered, and it would stay with you for days. You used to cry at things, get genuinely excited about things, feel things all the way through. And then, at some point, you didn't. Not all at once. It wasn't a single moment. Nobody took something from you. You didn't make a decision. It just stopped. And the strange part is, you almost didn't notice it happening until one day someone asked if you were okay, and you said yes, and you couldn't even tell if that was a lie or not. That's not a personality change. That's not you becoming cold or uncaring or broken. That's emotional numbness. And once you understand what it actually is, where it comes from, and why your brain does it, it stops feeling like something is wrong with you and starts feeling like something was trying to protect you. Here's what most people get wrong about emotional numbness. They treat it like an absence, like something missing, like the feelings just left. But that's not what's happening. Your feelings didn't leave. Your brain turned down the volume on them on purpose, without asking you. There's a reason for that. And it's not weakness. It's actually one of the most sophisticated things your nervous system knows how to do. Psychologists call it emotional blunting, a state where your brain reduces the intensity of emotional responses to protect you from being overwhelmed. It's the same mechanism that kicks in during trauma, during chronic stress, during years of having to hold too much without enough support. Your brain looked at everything you were carrying and made a decision. It decided that feeling everything fully was costing you too much, so it started charging less, until eventually it stopped charging anything at all. And here's what I need you to hear clearly. You didn't become numb because you're damaged. You became numb because you survived something, maybe something big, maybe 100 small things that nobody ever counted, but your brain was paying attention even when no one else was. There are 3 specific things that cause emotional numbness, not as a one-time event, but as a slow, quiet process that happens over time without you realizing it. The first one is emotional overload. Your nervous system has a capacity. Think of it like a container. Every day, you pour things into it: stress, unspoken feelings, disappointments you didn't process, conversations that hurt, things you needed to say but didn't. And as long as there's space, you feel everything. But when the container gets full, and for a lot of people it's been full for years, the brain does something automatic. It starts filtering. It stops letting everything through, because if it didn't, you'd be in a constant state of overwhelm. Researchers in affective neuroscience describe this as emotional dysregulation. Not meaning you're out of control, but meaning your brain has lost the ability to process emotions at the rate they're arriving. So, it shuts the gate, and you stop feeling not because the feelings aren't there, but because there's nowhere left to put them. The second reason is that you learned it wasn't safe to feel. This one is harder to hear, but it's important. If you grew up in an environment where your emotions were dismissed, where crying was seen as weakness, where needing something made you a burden, where you were told to stop being so sensitive, your brain learned something early. It learned that feeling was dangerous, that expressing what you feel leads to rejection or conflict or being laughed at or being left alone with it anyway. So it adapted. It started numbing the feelings before they could surface, before they could get you in trouble, before they could make someone leave. You didn't choose that. It was a survival response. A child learning the rules of the room they're in. Attachment researchers call this emotional suppression, and studies show that people who grow up in emotionally dismissive environments are significantly more likely to develop chronic numbness as adults, not as a flaw, as a learned protection. The third reason is exhaustion, the kind that sleep doesn't fix. There's a type of tiredness that has nothing to do with how many hours you slept. It comes from years of being the strong one, years of managing everyone else's emotions while ignoring your own, years of performing okay when you weren't, years of carrying things in silence because there was no one to carry them with you. That kind of exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, doesn't show up on a blood test. Nobody gives you time off for it, but it's real, and it accumulates, and at some point your brain makes a very logical decision. If feeling costs this much energy and there's no energy left, then we stop feeling. It's not giving up. It's your brain trying to keep you functioning. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Emotional numbness is not the problem. It was the solution to a problem that was too big to carry consciously. The people who go numb are almost never the people who didn't care enough. They're the people who cared too much for too long. without enough support. They felt everything so deeply, were so affected by the people and the world around them, that their brain finally had to intervene. Think about that. Your numbness is actually evidence of your sensitivity. It's the scar tissue of someone who felt and kept feeling until the system needed to rest. So if you've been walking around believing that you're broken, that you're cold, that something is fundamentally wrong with you because you can't cry anymore, or you can't feel excited anymore, or you go through entire days without feeling much of anything, you're not broken, you're exhausted. And there's a difference. Broken things don't recover. Exhausted things do when they're finally given what they needed. You don't have to fix this today. You don't have to feel everything overnight. That's not how this works. But the first step is understanding what happened, not blaming yourself for it. And you just did that. The numbness made sense. It was the right response to the wrong situation. And now that you know where it came from, you can start, slowly, to give yourself what you needed back then. Not motivation, not a list of tips, just understanding, the kind that makes you feel slightly less alone in your own head. Subscribe, and if this hit, share it with one person who needs to hear it.